Welcome to the EthanLive podcast. It is Friday, August the 15th.
Yes, correct.
Always have to double check.
We're off to a good start.
Yes, it's National Shoe Donation Day.
Oh, now I need to celebrate that one.
Chant at the Moon Day.
Okay.
Check the Chip Day. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That is Check the Chip Day, celebrated annually on August 15th. It's that time of year when we raise awareness regarding the importance of microchipping, which greatly helps in reuniting missing pets with their owners. And if your pet is not microchipped, sign up. Well, they'd have to need to be spayed and neutered. So, but if your dog needs to be spayed or neutered, sign up for the spay neuter clinic, and while they're there, they can get microchipped. That's on August 31st. You can sign up at ethanalmighty.com. Flooding of the Nile Day, Hawaiian Shirt Day. People might say, well, that's a odd shirt you got on. Oh, look at you. We're all Hawaiian today.
Tropical.
It's my Ethan Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, it's a little better than mine, obviously.
Kool-Aid Day.
Oh, I do like Kool-Aid.
Hey, what's your favorite flavor of Kool-Aid?
Tropical fruit punch or tropical punch. Going with the tropical theme still.
Let's see. I haven't had Kool-Aid since I was probably a child.
Thanks for that.
But thinking back on it, I don't really like cherries, but cherry Kool-Aid was pretty good.
Oh, now you do those little packs now that are Kool-Aid, don't you? The little ones that you add in your water bottles?
No, those are like I don't know who makes them. Aquafina makes some.
Oh, okay. Well, mine are Kool-Aid.
So. Oh, look at you. You're still eating Kool-Aid. National Lemon Meringue Pie Day. What else? National Relaxation Day. That's and World Greatness Day.
Okay.
I guess there's some kind of greatness festival. Anyway, today is a great day.
It is.
We're celebrating a good day from court yesterday. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to either ask them or click the link and join the podcast and ask your question. But anyway, so this person, Jeffrey Horstman, came on to our radar early last year, right after the law sort of passed, and he was added to a list of folks that we were just going to try to monitor, just to see sort of what happened, not even realizing that was way before we even thought we would drive to court, to be honest.
Exactly. He was very early on. So
and so I feel like as we were checking things, we must have been having trouble finding dates for him, because the last update we had for him was a court date that was probably last year at some point.
Yeah. I think it was probably before we found some of the websites and that were easily accessible to find court dates and things on. So we've come a long way.
Yeah, we've come. But anyway, well, I hadn't mentioned her name yet, but she made a nice comment on Ethan's.
Yes, she did.
I'll put her name out there. Her name was Stephanie Horstman. She was married to this guy, Jeffrey Horstman. And she had reached out to say that there was a sentencing coming up, that they'd gone through the whole process, and he was agreeing to
Alford plea.
Yeah, he was going to take an Alford plea, and ultimately what he was hoping to do was to get out with time served, and the prosecution was going to try to get him for quite a few years.
Yeah, because he'd already served a year in jail. This whole process with, at least they said 10 pretrial conferences, took a year.
So as I was corresponding with Stephanie about this particular case, and I'm hoping that she comes on, but just sort of to paraphrase the case, she needed, from best I can recollect, she needed to take her dog Ripley to the vet. The vet sort of, I believe is how it goes, gave her like, hey, there's something wrong with this dog. Do you know if something happened to him? she checks the video camera and sees that her husband, Jeffrey Horseman, uh, was like just abusing and beating the dog. Um,
All on video.
all
Yes.
on their security cam. As she
Yeah.
checked the security cam, she
Right.
confronted him. It turned into a big ordeal where he pulled a gun. Police were
Yeah.
called, and as she was telling me, this happened just a couple weeks after Ethan's Law was passed, and it's sort of she didn't really think there was a lot of nothing that could really help out. There wasn't a lot out there that you could really put your teeth into that could punish him. And then Ethan's Law came along, and she thought, "Hey, this is something that maybe he could be
Yeah.
punished with or charged with." And so he was charged with wanton endangerment, uh, hiding evidence,
Uh-huh.
and
Uh-huh.
torture of a cat or a dog. Uh,
Right.
so, as it came to the sentencing, well, the sentencing was Monday, scheduled for
Uh,
Monday, and Stephanie showed up, and there were um,
25, 30.
25, 30 folks there supporting her, all wearing green. Um,
Some of them even his family members, which I thought was very
yeah, some that were his family members supporting her
uh-huh.
because, as they said it, they knew, sort of what type of person he was and what she had to go through. And really, at that point, we didn't really know a whole lot of her background and what she went through. We sort of knew about this situation and the dog.
Right.
Um, and so that was Monday. So and that was on a regular court docket. And so all these folks show up. We showed up. She had asked us to come, so we showed up for sure. And his attorney asked for a continuance because he hadn't had a chance. Now, this thing had been on the table for about 2 months, but he hadn't had a chance to talk with his client about it.
Right. Who
Uh,
is incarcerated. I don't think he was difficult to find.
no, yeah, it wasn't hard to
Okay. But anyway,
locate.
yeah.
So the judge, who Judge James Schrand, maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's the best way to pronounce his name. I want to make sure we mention him. Who,
Yeah.
who we were told through the whole process was very good. Like he was very no
Yeah.
nonsense,
Very
um,
strong judge. Yeah.
very strong. So
Mhm.
probably just to make sure they didn't have anything to appeal or get mad or be upset about, he agreed to continue it, but agreed to continue it for. He said pick a day soon, like this week.
Yeah.
Picked Thursday at 11:30, which was interesting because there was no docket at that time, and he would be the only one there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we show up with probably the same, just
Mm-hmm.
about the same number of supporters for her,
Right.
and in fact, there were 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 folks on Zoom that were also logged in Zoom.
Yeah. They
Seeing
were,
this too.
yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And since he was the only one on the docket, we sat there right up front, right close to
Yeah. Ethan
uh,
was center stage for this.
stage.
Yeah. Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
So they
Yeah.
bring him in, and he's not a very
Oh my goodness.
just seems very what would how would you just creepy? There's something
Evil.
not
I mean, he just
evil. Yeah,
exudes evil.
it's probably the best word, evil, because
He just,
he just stares at people. So he stared
yes.
at their whole side of folks, and because we wanted to be up close, we were Debbie and I and Ethan were the only ones on the other side of the courtroom because so we could get up front. Stared at them like with a menacing stare, and then as he came over to where he was going to sit, which was right in front of us, gave us the same sort of menacing stare.
Yes. Yes.
So he sits
Very
down.
unsettling. Yeah. He not
Not
had that.
it doesn't seem stable.
No.
So his attorney gets up to argue why he should be let out just for time served, and started. I guess this guy's 54 years old and said he'd had 53 perfect years and had one bad day. And
Yeah.
his bad day started really a year before that when he had these throat issues that ultimately turned into throat cancer.
Mm-hmm.
He had surgeries that caused him to go into depression, and he couldn't sit up, couldn't stand up, hard to eat. Uh, it appeared from some of his story that maybe he'd lost his job through Humana, but that was
Yeah.
even
Yeah. I think so too.
didn't really hear a definitive. But he did say that him and his wife had a perfect marriage.
Yeah.
I'll take that back. It wasn't perfect. They had a very ideal marriage, and he worshipped the ground she walked
You
on.
were on.
And she was so wonderful to him through all this time that he was struggling that she took care of him.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And he had this one lapse with all the stuff building up. The dog went to the bathroom inside, and so he throws the dog outside, and the dog bites his hand, and he just loses it. And it was
Hmm.
at that moment the attorney said that all the whole year of this frustration, depression, aggression.
Yeah.
She even
Yeah.
said he mentioned that he had something called chemo aggression. Uh,
Uh-huh.
I just built up, and he just let it loose on this dog, and then took it out on the one person that was taking care of him for the past year, and who he worshipped the ground she walked on, then took it out on her. So you
Right.
sit and you listen to that, and
Yeah.
we might have
It
been
was
the only ones in the courtroom that didn't know really that any of the backstory, because the rest of the folks were her supporters and
family.
family.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then she stands up to give a witness uh, testimony,
Yeah.
um, and it's a completely 180-degree different story.
Yeah. And
She
she
talked
was
about how abusive the marriage was for 18 years, how abusive he was to her and to their other pets, and she just wasn't sure how to get out and wasn't sure what to do. And again, I don't want to put words in her mouth, but hopefully, she would feel comfortable to come on and tell her story. But it was
mhm.
18 years of nothing like he described.
Oh, no, no. And
Uh,
she even said that, there were, she knew that she should have gotten out some way, but she didn't know how. She just didn't know how. And that happens so often with abuse anyway. So, yeah. But then, it was very interesting though that her way out of all of that was Ethan's Law.
yeah. She confronts him about the dog. He pulls a gun on her, threatens
Yeah.
her. The police show up.
Hmm.
He's hidden the gun somewhere. They've got the video of the dog being abused, and so, like you say, through our excellent uh, justice system, where you have a right to. Here's an interesting thing about our justice system. If you are the accused, you have a right to a speedy trial.
Yes.
But what if you're the victim?
That does
Don't
not
you
seem
have a right to a speedy trial if you're the victim?
It doesn't seem to, does it, Jeff? I mean, it just goes on and on and on. I
So
mean, those people, some of them they're supporting her yesterday had traveled from Ohio. They'd been traveling for every pretrial conference on this case, which they said were at least 10 of them. So,
yeah, so the case drug on for a year, and probably
yeah,
the folks in the justice system would say, "Oh, only a year?
yeah,
Pretty,
maybe, but
pretty quick." Um, so anyway, it drug on for a year, then ended up dragging on another 4 days this week. But he was he. So again, this person who has never taken accountability for anything that he's done
right.
doesn't plead guilty. He
No.
takes an Alfred plea.
Hmm. Because they have the video.
So he takes an Alfred plea. So they've got him for 5 years for wanton endangerment, 5 years for Ethan's Law, two
Yeah.
years for mishandling evidence or hiding evidence. And he wants out after a year. The prosecution, because he doesn't really have anything in his background.
He was a model citizen.
Doesn't have anything in his background. They're going to offer something that's less than the full 12 years, even though
Hmm.
he's found guilty of these ones. So he gets. They decide basically to run the two 5-year sentences: the torture for a cat or dog and the wanton endangerment concurrently. So
Right. Yeah.
he'll run those at the same time. So he gets 7 years. So you say, okay, that's great. Let's get this guy 7 years, and then he's got 1 year served. So you say to yourself, okay, he's got 6 years left. So
Yeah.
afterward, someone asked the prosecutor, when's he eligible for parole? And she said, before the end of the second year.
Yeah.
So before he serves 2 years,
Uh-huh.
he'll be eligible for parole.
Can you imagine? I mean, just looking and watching Stephanie yesterday, just to think that, the fear. I mean, she's been living in fear anyway, but to think that this man would be out, especially after the looks he gave everybody in the
Well, and
courtroom.
she mentioned in her statement that
Mhm.
she made note that she would probably be on his hit list. Like,
Yeah.
who did she mention? His brother or her brother or someone,
Uh-huh.
two people. And so the prosecutor even said to the judge, "We are lucky. This has classic, classic symptoms of building up to be something worse. We're lucky
Yeah.
this was not a murder suicide."
Murder, suicide. Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
that was her words.
Yeah.
So I think everyone is worried for their safety, and quite honestly, looking at that dude and hearing
Oh,
some of the stuff he did, if I was sitting in that courtroom yesterday, I'd be worried for my safety, whether it was
yeah.
us on our side or them on their side.
Oh,
Uh,
definitely.
and the prosecutor said, go ahead and have folks start writing letters for the parole board. So
Uh-huh.
because first time felon, you're looking at 20%, serving 20%. That's why he's eligible for parole so soon. But my question, to the prosecutor there yesterday was, he's a violent offender. If you
Uh-huh.
fall into the violent offender status, which means that you've committed a felony where the victim has either died or uh, suffered severe pain or suffering.
Suffering. Mm-hmm.
Then you fall into this violent offender status, and you're required to serve 85% of your sentence.
Right.
And she, for a brief moment,
Didn't know. Yeah.
kind of thought she was thinking, "Oh, I hadn't thought of that." Maybe she had. I don't know, but the impression I got was that. And she said, "It
We
doesn't
didn't
apply
get
to
a
this."
quick, she didn't give us a quick reply by
Yeah.
any means.
So I think I think part of our issue is folks are. So that is true. Like, you fall into this violent offender status, but when
Uh,
you make a new law like this, like Ethan's law, so many other little things are attached, and
right.
if you don't end up adjusting some of those other little things that are attached, I will say this: if you commit a violent crime like that, like this
Uh,
is why it's a felony, because he's done this.
right.
There's a victim.
Whether it's a human or a dog.
Exactly. I
Mm,
understand that in Kentucky, cats and dogs are property. But when you're committing this violent offense that you're charged with a felony for, and it's a violent offense, there is a
yes,
victim to that.
exactly. And that dog should be considered a victim.
So, in my mind, and I hope someone argues this one day, he should be considered a violent offender and should be required to serve 85% of the
85% of his
sentence.
sentence. Yes.
Um, and again, I'm sure the defense attorney would say, "Hey, that only applies to people," but that's not. I'm just saying to you, it doesn't say person; it says victim.
It
And
does.
again, if you are committing a violent offense that you are being charged with a felony for, because you have beaten some, there's a victim involved in that
Yeah.
situation. So, long story short, he has been sentenced to 7 years. He'll be eligible for parole before the end of his second year. Hopefully there's enough folks to report back to the parole board and they keep him in there. Well,
Right.
another interesting thing that we were told also was that when he stood up to find out what his sentence was going
Oh,
to be and was
yeah.
standing there with his attorney, when he found out that he was going to get the full sentence,
Because they said he really thought he was going to walk out
he
yesterday.
leans over and says something to his attorney, but you can't hear it. But we did
Uh-huh.
hear what he said afterwards, and it was like, "You blew it." He
Hmm.
turns to his attorney, who's trying to help him, and he basically says, "You're worthless. You blew it."
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
and just another instance of him not taking accountability for anything.
No, no.
In my mind, because you're going to get out, well, you're going to at least be eligible for parole. You got off easy.
Uh-huh. Yeah, exactly. And you know, what would have happened? It would have been a whole different scenario if she hadn't had that on video with the
Yes.
dog.
Matter of fact,
I
the
mean,
prosecutor said without the video, it would have been a trial. There's
uh-huh.
no way he would have owned up and even went as far as the Alfred plea. Uh,
Right. Right.
so thankfully, the video was there, and hopefully, this is you get these little steps here and there that start
Exactly.
building a bigger foundation for what you're trying to do. Hopefully, this step here was one that was a little bit bigger than some of those little
Yeah,
steps.
this was a hop. This was a good little hop
Yeah,
because, you know, Ripley, there was justice for Ripley because of Ethan's law.
yeah,
And there was a safety net for Stephanie to feel like that she could get out because of Ethan's law, because she saw that as the only way he would be charged with a felony. So, I mean, that's just incredible to think of the work that you have put in, Jeff and Ethan, and it has finally come to this place. I mean, it was very emotional yesterday. Just
yeah. It was. I mean, to see you think.
the
Uh,
fruits of your labors that,
Yeah,
you know,
and you sit back and you've had sort of that same thought in many different instances. You know,
right.
you think when we finally get it to go to like House Judiciary, you're thinking, wow,
Yeah.
this is something, and then it goes to Senate Judiciary, and you think, wow, this is something, and it's going to get voted on, and you think this